Hi there. Thank you for coming back for part 3 of our article writing tutorial. This time we've already done the original article writing and the initial sentence spin variations. If you haven't gone through part 1 and part 2 yet, I highly recommend you do that, or you might be a little bit lost. Now we're going to continue forward and use some advanced spinning techniques in order to make this article actually post-worthy. The first step we're going to do is we're going to open up our working folder. As you can see, we have our original article saved, as was stated in part 1 and part 2. You keep that untouched. That's your original writing. If anything ever goes wrong, you can always revert back to that. Then, in part 2, we did a sentence spinning, which was a multiple sentence variation. That is a preliminary step to the SuperSpin process, which actually even spins it further. Now, we're going to open this sentence spin thing. As you can see, the file type says ODT. That's because we're using the free OpenOffice.org app. There will be links to that under every single one of the videos that are contained in the article writing series. If you were using Microsoft Word instead of OpenOffice, this will be .doc or .docx. But for the purposes of this article, we're trying to do this as cheap as possible for you, so we're using all free tools that we can. So first step, we open up this sentence spin file that we had created. Just wait a minute for that to open. OpenOffice Writer can take a little bit of time to open, but right when it finishes opening, we'll be right back. Okay, now our article is open inside of OpenOffice Writer, and we're all ready to continue with the SuperSpin process. But there's a few things I want to show you that I completed following the video in step 2. Originally, I had a few inaccuracies. I thought that the primary keyword extreme weight loss had only appeared 7 times. I've gone through, double-checked, it actually appeared 8. So this is the percentage of incidence of that primary keyword at 1.2%. Remember, our target was 2. We didn't quite get there, but that's okay. Then I went through and I made sure that each of my LSI keywords, as you can see, how to lose 10 pounds, zippy fat loss, and atomic fat loss, our target was to have each of them appear 5 times in the article. So I went through and put them in places that would make a bit of sense. So now we've got all those targets hit. We're a little low on the primary keyword, but that's going to work for this case. Remember, again, we're using OpenOffice.org. Our article length is around 500 words, no less. It cannot be less. It can be more. It just adds a little bit of work for you when you're in the SuperSpin process. And we have our bulleted list, and we have the 2 versions of the article saved in our working folder, as you saw when we were opening. Now, with the original sentence spin that we did in part 2, we described what these squiggles mean and what these pipes here mean. They're quite important. These are the spinning, I don't know what you'd call it, the spinning syntax. And really all it means is whatever appears before the first pipe is one sentence. After that first pipe before the second one is a second sentence, and after that second pipe to the end squiggle is a third sentence. And each time that this article is put through the software, it will pick one of those 3 versions to show. So you see it'll rotate through, or it'll change each time. Now, we also had pointed out that extreme weight loss being our primary keyword up here, we want to make sure that if it appeared in our original sentence in our original article, we also want it to appear in the 2 alternate versions of the sentence that we wrote in part 2. That's because when the software only picks one of these 3 versions of the sentence, we want to make sure that the keywords appear the same number of times in the finished produced article. So we need to have it in each alternate version of those sentences. If the sentence did not have a primary or LSI keyword in it, then we don't want to have a primary or LSI keyword in the alternate sentences. So basically we just want the alternate sentences to kind of replicate the original ones, but done in a different way. Now, as you can see, the first sentence of the article, extreme weight loss is one of the highest rated diet shows to ever have aired. That shows that we have the primary keyword in there. So in our 2 alternate sentences, we want to make sure it's there again. So in our first alternate, it says extreme weight loss, again, showing, is a fantastic television series which is watched by many. Great. Because the primary keyword was in the initial sentence, we've got it in the first alternate sentence, and then we look here in our third alternate sentence, extreme weight loss is an incredibly often show watched by Americans. Great. We have the primary keyword there yet again. Perfect. So whichever version of this sentence that the spinning software will choose to post will have that primary keyword in it because it was in the original article sentence. Then we continue on. Why are people even watching these shows? You'll see there's no primary or LSI keyword in there. So we absolutely don't want it to appear in the alternate versions. So let's look at alternate version 1. What is it about this show that people like so much? Great. And then the second alternate version, what is the draw to these type of shows? Again, there was no keywords in the first sentence, so there's no more in the two alternate versions. So it's continuing the pattern. Again, our punctuation is always kept outside of our Spintex, which is the spinning syntax. It's just a little buzzword that they use in the market research industry. Instead of saying spinning syntax every time and squiggles and pipes, they just use the term Spintex. So the Spintex is the squiggle, the pipe again, and the end squiggle. That's the Spintex. So anything contained in there is Spintex. Now, of course, we don't want our end punctuation to ever change, so we don't include that in the Spintex because we want it to always be the same. Now we continue on, and that's where we ended part 2, is just showing you the technique. Now I've gone through this whole article and made sure that I've given 2 alternate versions of every sentence in the article, including our bulleted list, including our other titles down here, all the way to the very end. We do that for every single sentence in the article. Usually that takes me about 15 to 20 minutes. The original article writing took about 30 minutes. So now we're ready to do the more advanced version, like the full-on spin. One other thing I'd like to point out, if you remember in the original article I had gone way over length, so it was 649 words. And I had pointed out why that was so relevant was because when we originally write the 2 alternate versions of each sentence, our word count gets pretty high and gives us a lot more verbiage that we're going to have to spin in the super spinning process. So as you can see, after writing the 2 alternate versions of each sentence, our actual word count now is at 1,719 words. So that has really added to the amount of work that we had to do. If I had only had a 500-word article, this would only be about 1,500 words. So that's an extra, 220 words to work on for the next stage. Now, in order to open this in our spinning software, we have to go up to File here, choose Save As, and we have to make sure that we save it as a rich text file. So what you do is where it says Save As Type, there should be a little down arrow here. Of course, on Mac it works a little different. I'm not that familiar with Mac at all, but I'm pretty sure it works in the same way. So you click on this little down arrow and it gives the other options that you're allowed to save the file as. And what we're looking for is rich text format .rtf. You click on that and now you'll see in the Save As Type, that's what it says there. It has the name of our article, extreme weight loss _ sentence spin.rtf, because now we're saving it in the format that our spinning software can open, and it is the sentence spin version of our original article. That's exactly what we need. So then we hit save and make sure you're saving it somewhere you can find it again. Your project manager is going to want you to upload all of the versions of these files to Dropbox when you're complete, so make sure that you keep them all in the same directory. So then we click save, and OpenOffice will try and tell you that there's some special features that it won't save when you go to that format, and that's absolutely correct. But in order to open this in our spinning software, it has to be in that version. So we don't want to save an ODF format because that won't be able to be opened in our other software. We want to choose Keep Current Format. So we click that. We wait for it to save, and it's all done. So now we're going to hop into our SpinnerChief software, and when we get into that, we will import this article from the RTF format. I'm just going to close this, and then we'll start back over with SpinnerChief. Now we've got SpinnerChief loading. it takes a little bit to load the thing up because it's a pretty elaborate piece of software. This is the spinning software I referred to in part 1 and part 2. This article will allow us to create extensive sentence variation at a pretty fast rate. But because these are tier 1 articles, we want to do this stuff manually. So the first thing it asks us when we load up SpinnerChief is which thesaurus we want to use. You can use one of your own custom built ones, which advanced users likely have. I personally don't use that because it takes too long to build them, and there's a lot of words that I would never think of to include. And so there's two other options here in red. One is use the cloud thesaurus, which is the user-built thesaurus. What that means is as people use SpinnerChief, and they've been using it for years already, every time a user substitutes, say the word Christmas, anytime somebody doesn't find a synonym that they like and instead types something like, say, Christmas or Xmas or holiday season or something like that, it adds it to the cloud thesaurus. So basically what it means is that you have a thesaurus that's built out of all of the synonyms that everybody else has used. So it's constantly growing. So in my experience, that one has the most options available. So that is the one I use. There's the Miracle Thesaurus, which is built by the SpinnerChief team. If you're using auto spinning, which I highly do not recommend for tier 1 articles because a lot of it won't make sense. The sentence structure will be a little bit weird. The dialect, it won't work very well. You can use that for tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 articles, but we're doing tier 1 articles. In my tier building series, you will understand exactly what the tiering structure means and how that all works. But in this specific case, we're going to use the Cloud Thesaurus. So you select that, then you click OK. Then it asks you what language. And there's a ton of languages here, but we're building an English article, so we're choosing English. Then we hit OK. It takes a minute to load this. It's a big article, and it has to download it from the internet. So you need internet connectivity to be able to do this. So we just are going to wait for a minute for it to finish opening. Now it's all open. And down here you can see where it says thesaurus, cloud thesaurus. That means the right one's loaded. It says our language is English. It says we have no words in there. Perfect. We're all ready to go. Now we're going to have to open our article that we had written in SentenceSpin. So at the very top left of the screen you'll see where it says open, or you can hit the file tab and it has it in there. I usually just hit the open button because it saves me a step. Now it's going to take me to, now I need to navigate to my where I saved my articles that I had written. In this specific case, it's Extreme Weight Loss SentenceSpin that we had saved as RTF. As you can see, the ODT files that we had built before can't be opened by this software. That's why we saved it as an RTF. So we click that, hit open, and now we can see that our whole article that we had written before has now been imported and it's fully available for us right here. Now, to show you so that you have an understanding how this Spintex works, remember how I said it'll choose one of the three options. I know it seems like I'm being a little redundant going over that over and over again, but a lot of people don't understand how it is. So you veterans out there, just be a little bit patient. In this, to see how the Spintex actually works, as you can see, we have this all over the place. So what we can do is we go into the spin menu, and then if we hit preview, it'll show how the spinning software actually works. As you can see, in our article, it shows us what the article will be output like. First sentence, it shows extreme weight loss concepts for the new year. Now when we look up here, we can see that that was actually our third version of the sentence. So it randomly picked the third one. Then in the first sentence, here it says, Extreme Weight Loss is a fantastic television series which is watched by many. As we can see, that was actually the third version, or the second version of our sentence that we had used right here. So basically what it means is it randomly picks one of the three versions in between each set of squiggles. And so as you can see, each time we do this, it will write us a new article. So that already gives us a little bit of uniqueness. As you can see down here, it says 156 words, 38 sentences, 27 paragraphs, 23.72% unique rate. The sentence and word summary down here will be wrong because we've already spun this in the sentence level. However, the unique rate is fairly significant. We want to get this well over 70%, 65 bare minimum. So there's a lot of spinning to be done here. So as you can see, the sentence spinning isn't good enough to actually publish this article. So here, let's close our preview. And now we're going to actually start with the actual super spinning process. Now this takes a little bit of time. If you recall, I had told you that the original article would take me about 30 minutes to write. To sentence spin it, which was part 2, took me between 15 and 20 minutes. So we'll say we've already spent about 50 minutes on this article, 50. Now the actual extensive super spinning that we're about to do usually takes me for, 15 to 1700 words, usually takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So all total will be at about 2.5 to 3 hours per article. So, in a 9-hour day, you can get 3 of these done. It does take time, but after we're done spinning the super spin here, we'll be able to reuse this article about 1,000 times. So it really, really does, it is worth it in the long run. To write 1,000 articles that's just crazy. No one would ever do that in their right mind. So now we're sitting here and we're going to start the sentence spins, the super spins. So the first thing we do is we highlight the very first sentence, extreme weight loss methods that work. Then down here you'll see where it says multi-words phrase spin. That's what we're going to use. So we click that. It takes a minute for it to actually figure out what we're trying to do. And then this is one great feature of SpinnerChief. The best spinner does this even better. Like it's an amazing piece of software, but it does cost a little bit more. And there are other ones out there. However, SpinnerChief is probably the most affordable. For me, what I do is, because this is a short sentence, but in some of the longer ones, there will be more than fits on one line here. So I generally scroll this thing way up here to give me as much room as possible for this area. So my first sentence is extreme weight loss methods at work. Now, because we picked the multi-word phrase spin, anytime there's a single word, it gives me all the options, that synonyms of that word. But sometimes using a single word won't make much sense. So it'll actually put the pair there that might make more sense to substitute. Like that work would make more sense. Well, none of these are really very good synonyms, but that sentence will be pretty hard to spin. The longer sentences work a little bit better. You'll see that in a minute. Now, we always have to keep in mind what our LSI and primary keywords are. And our primary keyword, if you remember, is extreme weight loss. So we have to make sure that we don't change that. So as you can see, it says extreme weight loss. The only other ones we could possibly plug in there are our LSI keywords, such as how to lose 10 pounds, atomic fat loss, and zippy fat loss. So, of course, none of those are going to be in here. And because this is broken up, we really can't substitute them in this specific case. Now, we're going to try and spin as much as we can. The only word that we can really spin in this sentence are basically methods. So we can go through, and this is how easy this is. So we want this sentence to make sense. So you can see I have it highlighted, extreme weight loss methods that work, but extreme weight loss strategies that work are good, extreme weight loss procedures, approaches, solutions, tactics, ways, options, systems, techniques, practices, means wouldn't really make much sense, programs, processes, tips, steps, ideas, extreme weight loss devices that work. Yeah, that'll work. Extreme weight loss resources that work. Plans, measures, extreme weight loss actions, extreme weight loss tricks, models, products, extreme weight loss equipment that work. That would make sense because it ends with that work. So if you put extreme weight loss equipment that work, that doesn't really make any sense. So you wouldn't use that one unless it ended with that works. Now, seeing as how when we put a synonym in one of these, we can't determine what it's going to pick when it actually spins it and outputs it. So you don't want to put anything that's conditional on the next word if you're spinning the next word. So we continue extreme weight loss routines that work, remedies, operations, courses, tools, alternative, hints, avenues, services, suggestions, secrets. There we go. So now up here you can see that it's now in that single sentences that you remember was only what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. It's created so many options in there. So each time we output this, it's going to use, this is called nested Spintex, when you put Spintex inside of other Spintex. So remember, when it does the spin, it'll pick one of the 3 options that we had written, either the first sentence, second sentence, or third sentence. Now, should it pick the first sentence, it'll put extreme weight loss, because as you can see, that's not nested. But in here, we have nested Spintex. So each time it gets to that 4th word, it's going to pick one of these 4 words. So as you can see, the variation of that sentence has now just exponentially exploded, and that's with us only doing 1 word. Now this is the reason that we save the original sentence spin and original article as separate files, because this can get very, very confusing to work with. Now I'm going to do the second sentence, and it'll show red, showing that that one's been spun. Now I'm working on the second sentence, extreme weight loss ideas to help you. So we're going to go down here, and I've expanded this window again. Now again, this is primary keyword, so we don't want to change it. Ideas. Now we're trying to say extreme weight loss, something, something to help you. So extreme weight loss tips to help you, suggestions to help you, ways to help you, guidelines, tricks. Extreme weight loss suggestions for help you doesn't make sense, so we don't want that. So methods to, extreme weight loss strategies to, extreme weight loss, and now here's one I want to put in here. Now this is a perfect example. Now if there isn't something in the list that you want, like I want to put extreme weight loss secrets to help you, well, there is no secrets to help you. So I just click this little box up here. I go like that, I hit enter, and it automatically adds it to the Cloud Thesaurus and puts it in to the actual spin. So now that's how you actually add things. You can add whatever you want. In this specific incident, usually I spend a little more time trying to find more options. And of course, when you actually spin this stuff yourself, it will not take this long. I'm doing this to make sure that I illustrate everything. Now, we've got all those options. So extreme weight loss ideas to assist you. Now we don't want that, because we don't want to assist you to, because there's nothing coming after it. That wouldn't make sense. Extreme weight loss ideas to assist you to. But assist you makes it work. Extreme weight loss ideas to aid you. To lend a hand. That's not very good English, but you know, it's going to work. To guide you, to provide help. Now I want to put support you, or let's use encourage you. That's a good one. I like that one. And then we continue down, and I just go show you how it wouldn't make much sense. To offer some assistance, to lend you a hand, to make it easier. These aren't very good. Usually I'd be a little more particular, adding a whole bunch of my own to help you out. There we go. That's good enough. So that's the second sentence done. Now we hop to the third one. Whoops, that was an accident. Now in the third one, we highlight the third sentence. Extreme weight loss concepts, ideas, principles, thoughts, strategies, styles, models, techniques, guidelines, methods. And again, we're doing the exact same thing. Now the reason I want you to keep watching is I'm going to show you what we do when there isn't a keyword in the sentence that we're working on. Extreme weight loss information for the new year, basics, plans, choices, key points, creative concepts, tactics, extreme weight loss tactics for the new year, procedures, theories, tips, rules. I like the word secrets. That's one of my favorite. Extreme weight loss, resolutions for the new year. I'm going to add secrets for the new year. Now we got that. And if you ever want to deselect one, you just click on it again, it goes away. And it automatically removes or adds them up here. So at any time, you can always copy and paste this into another document. For any new year, for this new year, like extreme weight loss concepts for a new year. That's basically how I do this. I read the original sentence and then I look at the option I'm selecting and then how the rest of the sentence would read after that. So extreme weight loss concepts for a new year. Not the best, but it's not bad. For your personal new year, towards the new year, relating to the new year, just for the new year. Pardon me. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold here, so this is a little bit difficult. Considering the new year, for this marvelous new year, regarding the new year, for all the new year, during the new year, for this fantastic new year, for our new year. There we go. So we've got, this sentence is getting big. Now, extreme weight loss concepts for the beginning of the year, start of the year, and new year. It's because remember, the original word is still going to be included in the spin, plus whatever options are below it. So extreme weight loss concepts for the beginning of the year, start of the year, or new year. So there. Now we've got our heading all spun. Now look at how big this thing is now. Remember how short it was before? Now look at that. Now the reason they call it nested, you can see that inside of our original Spintex, we have new Spintex. And that's called nested because it's inside of the nest of the original ones. You can see highlighted out here, the original ones have kind of bluish highlighting on them, and all the stuff inside it is stuff that we've spun. And you can see our original pipes in there. Now inside the nesting, if it picks this third sentence, inside these brackets it's going to pick one of these options. So now we've already got a pile of variation in this actual title. It is going to be so different each time it's run. So now we got that. I'm not going to make you sit through watching me do each sentence, but basically all we do is we continue doing the same thing for every sentence. You will want to do every single sentence that you wrote. I'm just skipping this one because it has our primary keyword in it again, and that limits the amount that we do. Now I move to the second sentence, which doesn't have a primary keyword in it. Why are people even watching these shows? Remember, you pick what's before the first pipe up to the beginning of your Spintex, which is the squiggle. So why are people watching these shows? I put this to the top of the screen, I drag this back up, and here we are again. And this time, because there's no primary keywords, I just spin them all. That's all. If there was a LSI keyword, I might spin it to another one of our LSI keywords or our primary keyword. That's fine. But never ever get rid of your keywords. Like if this had extreme weight loss in it, don't replace it with no keyword. That'll reduce our incidence. It'll basically destroy the article. So we would just go do the exact same thing, and we do that all the way until we're done the article to the very last sentence, and we're all done. You even do that with the bulleted lists. Again, you just highlight the first sentence, it comes up down here, and you just pick the options. Now remember what I was saying about dragging this up. That happens with some of the longer sentences. So here's a good one. I do recommend, this is a long sentence. I do recommend using complete extreme weight loss systems. They will show the full benefits of your workouts and provide you with a comprehensive and proven nutritional guidelines. There's a lot of words in that. So we're going to drag this up. because as you can see now, there's a whole bunch of words we have to spin in this sentence. And it's this outer scroll bar that lets you scroll up and down on this. If you try and use the mouse wheel, it'll actually scroll the top window up here. You'll see that as I do it. So we don't really want to do that. So we use this little scrolly bar on the side here, and then we make sure that we do it for every single word. When we're all done that, we go to File, and we save as RTF or text, up to you. I generally save them as RTF. You can also just click Save up here, and it'll bring it up, and you can do the Save As type, RTF. Now, we're going to want to name it the same as this, but now it's SuperSpin. Of course, we will have spin every sentence before I do this, but I'm not going to make you watch an hour-and-a-half video just to see me do that, because the concept is the same for every sentence. So extreme weight loss underscore SuperSpin, because that means the article is done. It is ready to be published. The only things that we have to do is spin in some images, spin in some links, and videos. And there will be advanced series that does that. I highly recommend that you continue going through our super spinning series and do that to all of your articles, because if you're going to spend the time broadcasting or publishing these articles anywhere, you want to make absolutely sure that they're done as much as possible so that they get you the biggest return for each time that you use them. So and it adds a ton more sentence variation, plus embedding YouTube videos. Google owns YouTube, so it does also reward gives you higher Google ratings is what it does. Sorry about that. I'm talking while I'm writing these things, so there's no voiceovers or anything, so I apologize if sometimes I say or a little bit too many times. So I've typed my file name, extreme weight loss underscore superspin. I'm saving it in the same working folder that we have our other articles in. I click Save, and it's all saved. You upload all of those to your Dropbox, and then we will continue on with adding videos, links, and images to our articles. Thanks again for listening. Sorry for going so long. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my entire video. I hope it gave you some great advice and tips you can use. If you have any questions about this video, please head over to my blog by clicking on the logo in the video now, by entering darrenmaurer.org into your web browser, or by clicking the link directly below the video. You may also leave any questions or comments below the video. I love hearing what my viewers have to say. You can check out my other videos and tutorials on my blog, my YouTube channel, or by clicking immediately on the one that you want to watch directly in the video you are currently viewing. And please be sure to subscribe to both my YouTube channel and my blog to get future tips and updates. Have fun!